Well, yeah, the last interview I did was almost a year ago. He just had his baby. The baby was like a week old. And it was really odd to me that he would bring a 1 week old baby to an interview.
Hello to the world, baby. Say, my name's Prince. Yeah. That's my boy. He's precious. There's nothing like this, you know? Nothing. I've experienced a lot of cool things in my life. I mean, I've been everywhere. I've been Eiffel Towers and monuments and working with people, but there's nothing like this, man.
That is true.
Most times people keep a baby at home for, months at the point of actually taking it outside.
A 2-month-old baby is still
a baby.
Very much in need of care at all times.
Yeah.
Anything could fuck up their day.
Right.
Whereas 1 week.
Right. He was there 1 week after bringing the baby. We did the interview and he seemed a bit off. And then later that day or the next day, it was announced that him and his girl had broken up. She was with him as well, right? And I was like, no, this is bullshit. He was just at my interview a few hours ago with his girl. And they're like, no, the fight happened after the interview and now they're broken up and parting ways. And I was just like, I just don't want to have a part in the dysfunction that's happening right now.
Yeah.
It's like people have come by and did the show. And after our last interview, like Bunk Gang, yeah. I was like, our last interview was so bad. He looked like he was coming off of a lot of drugs. I was like, nah, I'm cool. Orlando Brown, after our last interview and everything I've seen, I said, nah, I'm cool. Yeah. I wouldn't do a Kanye interview right now, even if it was offered to me, because it's like, nah, like you're going through some serious mental, severe mental issues. And I don't want to give you a platform to display those issues to the world and make it look like I'm somehow taking advantage of your dysfunction or anything else like that. Go on and work whatever you want to work through on your own. Maybe at some later point we'll circle back. So I think Aaron actually had reached out to do another interview with me and I said, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, because generally I agree with that. Like somebody hit me up to do a BAM interview a few times over the years. And I love BAM. Like I grew up on Jackass and everything, Bam Margera for anyone who's confused. And but then like I seen Steve-O interview him relatively recently. It got millions and millions of views of basically Bam just doing a little victory lap, talking about his sobriety and how great everything is and how easy it was for him to get sober. And sure enough, he's drunk as shit like a month later. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I don't really get a lot of joy out of talking to somebody when they are in that bad part of their life. There's a certain value to documenting somebody's life regardless of what they're going through, but it's just kind of depressing to me. And I don't like letting somebody lie to me on camera. Like I always want to be able to call them out on their bullshit, right? And to me, an addict is almost always somebody who's not willing to confront the reality of their situation. And I don't really want to talk to somebody unless we can really talk about what they have been through. And I have seen a lot of people like, Aaron Carter was somebody who had this big mob of women basically who followed him, hated him, wanted to destroy his life, would report him to the cops, would trash him on social media, whatever. And in some situations, you could probably say that they were right, that they had reasons to be worried about his behavior, especially with the kid and the drugs and whatever. But I've seen a lot of those same accounts on Twitter kind of pivot to blaming me for platforming him or for being willing to have a conversation with him, which this is my thing, is I slowed down a lot on interviewing him. And then we do another interview. I don't know what version of him I'm going to necessarily get, right? Because there's people who are fucked up on drugs and, every time you see him, they're just fucked. And then there's people like Aaron who every time you see him, you feel like you're getting a different version of him. And to me, it's like Aaron is my friend, or was my friend, who has issues with drugs, right? And we sat down to have a conversation and I didn't know what version of him I was going to get. And people are kind of giving me a hard time about like trolling him or whatever. And it's like, bro, like he showed up to the interview and was interrupting me, giving me bullshit answers, just sort of, talking all crazy all over the place, not really necessarily making that much sense. It's like, can you really judge me for being a little bit snarky and irritated in the interview? It's like everybody has this completely different view of things once somebody loses their life and they gain this different perspective on it. But I mean, that's real life right there. It's like there was nothing I could have done. People always want to say, oh, you could have forced him or you could have helped him. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm not going to be able to do shit until he decides that he wants to help himself. I've had people in my life who are a million times closer to me than him, who I had a million times more reason to help, who I couldn't help. You know, it's like, if you want to get off drugs, this has got to be a personal decision.